All right, good morning. Another morning report day. All right, so this is Wednesday. In the news, Sean Spicer, White House press secretary, uh, stumbled and bumbled his way through an apology, and where he had, after he had apologizing for comparing Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to and Adolf Hitler. Uh, this has stirred up a lot of controversy. Democrats are calling for his resignation. Many Jewish leaders are calling for his resignation. Uh, what Spicer was trying to get to was it was not really a Holocaust comparison as it wound up being interpreted, but he was trying to differentiate between Assad gassing his own civilian people in a military type action versus Hitler not gassing his people, for military purposes. The problem here is that it just doesn't come out. There's no way to win this argument. You bring Hitler in here, and you've got a big problem. And why Spicer even went there, I haven't the foggiest clue. Um, Hopefully, he's learned his lesson on this, but I think a big mistake on his part. That even if you tried to parse this and figure out what he was trying to do, just really he bumbled this. He mishandled this whole thing. Never should have been there in the first place. So hopefully he can figure out a way to put that fire out and get that behind him so he can move on. But the press has got the long knives out for Spicer and the Trump administration, so every stumble is going to be magnified manyfold compared to previous secretaries because of their animus towards the Trump administration, with the Trump administration's general treatment of the press not being as favorable as it has been in past presidencies. United Airlines still trying to figure out how to get out of their PR nightmare. They are apologizing. Congress is thinking about taking some action, investigating. The White House is calling for them to come to town and have a meeting with the president. So lots of things that are not working well for United at this stage. Just let it be said that if you're an airline passenger, you really don't have a whole lot of rights to begin with. Getting involuntarily bumped happens, but it happens to a very small degree. 40, 50,000 out of over 650 million passengers. It's minuscule. It's less than 0.75%, and so that doesn't that it just doesn't happen very often. They in the Louisville Courier Journal, where this doctor, the passenger was from, reported that he'd had some brushes with the law in the past. They've been lambasted on social media for mentioning those things, but I do think that, and I don't think that past arrest or other things like that necessarily play into this at all, or should be a part of this, because this was a carriage issue and getting bombed and all these kind of things. But he apparently does have some anger management issues, which I definitely think played a part in his behavior in fighting to getting off the plane and everything like that. Other passengers had deplaned, when they were told by the airline that they needed to do that, and this guy just refused. If the airline gave in and decided to choose another passenger, this would only embolden others under the involuntary booking scenario, and create a huge potential nightmare for all airlines about involuntary booking. So, they had no choice but to stand their ground on many of these related issues, and not trying to take the blame off of United. There's plenty of blame to go around with them, but this particular passenger could have handled this better as well. If he's a frequent flyer, if he's flown this route at all, he knows that there are better ways to handle this, and he just has to suck it up in some ways and deal with that. Anyway, also sad news to note, Jay Giles, John Giles, founder of the Jay Giles Band, was found dead in his home, age 71, in Groton, Massachusetts. There's probably an autopsy to determine the cause of death. But Jay Giles, another one of those bands from my teenage years, and I have some of their music on my computer, on my phone, though I haven't listened to it for a while. but we'll be seeing a lot more of these. We'll be losing a lot more of these aging rockers in due course as the baby boomers age, and they were probably, a lot of these guys were probably already a good 10 years older than we were, so if not more so. So we'll probably be talking about this a lot more in the future. We'll see, as it's nature taking its course. That's the way it goes. Ron Estes won the Kansas special election. Not exactly a nail-biter on the one hand, but definitely worrisome for the Republicans because they didn't get the big margin that Trump carried the district in this past fall. There's no doubt that Trump's a lot of the sheen has come off of Trump's image at this point in time, but a lot of that too is due to the animus of the major mainstream media, as well as the left working very hard to really take Trump out and try to weaken his hand. But it looks like overall, not only did it stay in Republican hands, this particular district, but there are voters that probably hadn't voted in a while that came out to vote. I mean, got a bunch of support, enough to win, but will have to be prepared in 2018 for a longer, larger battle, because the Democrats are going to work hard to take back that district, from the Republicans. Also, SEIU, the Service Employee International Union, which has been one of the leaders of the Fight for 15 movement, showing that movement is fizzling out. They're going to be cutting their budget big time, and part of this is that means a pretty stiff budget cut because of dropping enrollment, dropping revenue, and that means layoffs will be in place. It's not known exactly what the SEIU is going to do and going to give their former employees, but they may be forced to give them some pretty generous severance packages, in this case, just so that they don't act like the, quote, evil corporations, I should do that again, air quotes, that they criticize in terms of how they handle staff layoffs and things like that. So much for the Fight for 15. Haven't heard about it much recently, and so that seems to have died out in large part. And then finally, Bill O'Reilly taking a 2-week vacation. I haven't looked back to see if this is something that he normally does, but I venture to say that he does take fairly frequent vacations. It's in his contract. Didn't look to see what his contract held going forward. But with a sexual harassment allegation hanging over his head and the network's head, I think it was wise for them to go ahead and take Riley off the air for this period of time, classify it as vacation, and let him come back refreshed, and we'll see what happens. And I think Fox is hoping that the advertiser backlash against O'Reilly will dissipate, that they'll see that they still want those eyeballs for their advertising, and that they will indeed contribute to that and make sure that those things take place. So that's about it. Hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Watch the Bias Buzz podcast, 10:30, live on Facebook and Twitter, Periscope, and it'll be up here probably sometime tomorrow in a slightly edited version. So we hope you join us one way or another in one of these formats. Thanks, and have a great day.